acknowledgement of superiority, and they are in a state of subjection. If you are not paying the jizya in acknowledgement that Muslims are superior to you, and you are not in a state of subjection, showing that you are inferior to Muslims, they are supposed to be fighting you. Here in the United States, we are not paying the jizya, and we are not in a state of subjection. Therefore, Muslims, even here, are supposed to be fighting us.
Yes.
And finally, in the way of offensive jihad, next slide, we have the future offensive jihad by Jesus himself. In Bukhari and Muslim we read, the Messenger of Allah said, "By the one in whose hand is my soul, soon the son of Maryam will descend among you as a just judge. He will break the cross, kill the pigs, and abolish the jizya, and money will become abundant until no one will accept it." Abolishing the jizya here, interestingly enough, refers, if you look at the Muslim commentaries, abolishing the jizya refers to killing all Jews and Christians. No more jizya will be collected because there will be no more Jews and Christians to collect it from. Now, go on to the next slide, please. We're almost done. Here's another example of abrogation, according to Major Hassan. Are there different paths to heaven? Well, in 262 we read, "Surely those who believe, and those who are Jews, and the Christians, and the Sabaeans, whoever believes in Allah on the last day and does good, they shall have their reward from their Lord, and there is no fear for them, nor shall they grieve." Muslims quote this all the time to show that they have a favorable view of Jews and Christians. Problem, this wasn't the end of the revelations. Look at Surah 385. "And whoever desires a religion other than Islam," if you desire a religion other than Islam, "it shall not be accepted from him." It'll never be accepted by God. "And in the hereafter he shall be one of the losers." You're going to hell if you desire any religion other than Islam. And for the future revelations of the Quran, we find Christianity constantly condemned. Christians have false beliefs. We have false beliefs about the Trinity. We have false beliefs about the deity of Christ. We have all kinds of false beliefs, and the Quran declares us in Surah 5:17 to be unbelievers. So don't quote this passage that's been abrogated, when the Quran specifically says that we are not believers. So what do we find? Let's go to the next. Slide. Here are the conclusions that he draws. Based on what the Quran teaches on all of these issues, these are the conclusions that Major Hassan draws. God expects full loyalty. Not simply loyalty concerning the things you like about Islam. Not loyalty concerning the passages of the Quran that you find appealing, even if they've been abrogated. Full loyalty. Allah promises heaven and threatens you with hell if you disobey him. Next, Muslims may be seen as moderate, but God is not. You have moderate Muslims, true, but God is not moderate. And people who are moderate here in the West are not being obedient to Allah. But what about Muslims who say, "I love the Quran, I love being a Muslim, but I don't want to live under Islamic rule"? You've seen the punishment that awaits people who just like to pick and choose and aren't obedient as Abraham was. Next, look. Fighting to establish an Islamic state to please God, even by force, is condoned by Islam. Fighting to establish an Islamic state to please God, even by force, is condoned by Islam. You are to fight unbelievers in order to establish Islamic rule, even by force. Next, Muslim soldiers should not serve in any capacity that renders them at risk to hurting, killing believers unjustly. And he says that people's reaction to being put in this situation is going to vary. So go back to, if we consider the people earlier that he mentioned, one decides to blow up his fellow soldiers, one just sits down and refuses to go anywhere. We find these different reactions. And the final slide, we have his recommendation. What should be done? His conclusion to all of this in his presentation given to the U.S. Army: Department of Defense should allow Muslim soldiers the option of being released as conscientious objectors. So if you want to leave, if you're in the military and you want to leave, you should be able to leave. And the reason is that this will increase troop morale and decrease adverse events. Well, what does he mean by adverse events?
Like
he specifically said people who are throwing grenades at their fellow soldiers. That's what he defined as adverse events. So, responding to the email that we read earlier, she said that the oppressed people will often do things to retaliate.
Yes.
Extreme things.
Yes.
First of all, how was Major Nidal Malik Hassan oppressed. He was the son of immigrants who came to the United States. He grew up here. He became a medical doctor. He was in the United States Army. He had a 6-figure income.
That we're paying as taxpayers, and he worshiped freely as a Muslim in a mosque in America.
And as we can see, he got away with saying everything he wanted. Anything any threat he wanted to throw at the United States, people put up with it. This guy got away with everything. And how do people look at him and say, he was oppressed, that's why he went and attacked? Well, I ask you, according to him, according to Major Hassan himself, why did he attack his fellow soldiers? Was it because he's oppressed? Did we have a presentation on him being oppressed and therefore becoming so overwhelmed by his oppression that he wants to go out and fight? Or did we see from his presentation that since Muslims are called to fight the unbelievers, and since they are commanded never to attack their fellow Muslims, that Muslims here will have will do adverse things and might even attack their fellow soldiers? What was his reason? Was it, oh, I'm suffering from so much oppression? That's nowhere in there. His reason for attacking his fellow soldiers was Islam, the teachings of Muhammad. Absolutely. And he uses the same passages that Sam and I use all the time. So I'll put this to you, to the person who sent in an email saying that this person is obviously insane. If you're saying he's obviously insane, he must have been interpreting Islam in an irrational manner. Guess what? He's not interpreting Islam in an irrational manner. He's interpreting it exactly as it's supposed to be. Exactly as Ibn Kathir interpreted it. Exactly as Islam's greatest commentators interpreted it. Exactly as Muhammad himself interpreted it.
Yes.
So if you're saying that there's something insane about what he did, despite the fact that Islam commands him to do exactly what he did, you must simply be saying that Islam is insane. And if that's your position, that's up to you. But what we find is that Major Hassan did exactly what the Quran commands him to do, and Muslims in the West are distorting and completely misrepresenting the text of their own holy book in order to keep us from knowing the truth about what their religion teaches. And I'm sorry, you've gotten away with this for far too long. You have seen the passages from the Quran, not from us, but from a Muslim himself, and we can show you, if you want, we can show you everything he said was absolutely correct based on Muslim sources. And if you don't like this, call us, show us where we're wrong. Show us where Major Hassan was wrong. If you think this man was irrationally interpreting the Quran, he's just off his rocker in the way he's interpreting the Quran, call us. And
write
correct
a letter to him.
Yes, call us, correct us, correct him. Show us, please, because guess what? There are more Major Hassans out there who are interpreting Islam in this way. So if you've got the proof to show that this